War Eagle Auburn family members, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Today's live stream, this is a live reaction from me and hopefully you as well, the Auburn fans who want to talk about the Auburn Tiger victory over the Alabama State Hornets by the score of 62-0. Had to think of it there for a second. You know, there's so many points being scored of late. They kind of all run together, don't they? Just a little bit. But that's the purpose of our live stream today, is going to be just reacting, talking about what stuck out to us the most. No really hardcore analysis into this is required to be here yet, because this is just literally minutes after everything has wrapped up. They're walking off the field. And many of you may be celebrating and actually watching some of the other games right now too. So, but just want to connect with a few of you that I'm sure want to kind of get out some initial thoughts and impressions about what took place during the game today. For me, it was a lot of expected stuff, but still some nice surprises here and there throughout. But don't be shy. I want to hear from you. If you are watching live or on the replay, we appreciate you hanging out with us however we can get you, even if it's on the replay. As you do come into the live stream, a lot of you know the drill. Please do make sure you smash that like button, that you share where you're watching from, city, state, international, all that good stuff, so that we can know who is here and hanging out with us. And War Eagle is also always nice to know as well. You know, I was going to say that, you know, I'm trying not to get into like too many technical analysis things right now, because this is initial just reaction type of stuff. But excuse me, it's always interesting to see everybody's initial reaction to a game like against Akron, and then when some things don't necessarily go the way they wanted in the beginning of this game, the reaction to the flip-flop and back and forth. It's just entertaining to me to watch my own reactions, but fan reactions as well, to how the team is performing, how our perceived expectations and stuff sometimes can be like quickly shattered if it doesn't match up exactly what we were expecting with the start of this game whatsoever. I had a feeling that this matchup was not going to be exactly what we were hoping for, and was going to be a little bit different and odd, just because it's not the first game, it's the first day game. There's all these little different factors you can talk about that play into about why things happened the way they did, what mojo was against the, you know, but the point stands that despite all of the issues that were taking place in the early part of the game, they clearly got cleared up. 62-0 is nothing to be upset about. Unbeaten Lakes in the house. Tank and Jarquez will be Heisman finalists. Tank will be. Jarquez maybe. Well, hold on. If you're making the statement that both of them will be Heisman finalists by the time both their careers are done at Auburn, yeah, I can get on board with that. Together, highly unlikely. I mean, I know they've sent other players from the same team in the same year before. Obviously, they did it last year. But to send two players from the same position, from the same team, is pretty unheard of. So I would highly doubt that they will be Heisman finalists this year. Jarquez is a great talent, and I'm so happy that we have him. But, you know, he is still behind Tank. He is still behind a lot of other, other great athletes. He's young, he's talented, but he's going to get his due. And we're just getting a small taste of what to expect with a future with Jarquez Hunter. And right now, Auburn's running back field has not been quite so secure in quite some time. We talked a lot about it last week on some of our reviews for the Akron game about how different each of the running backs is, but they provide an extra punch that the others don't provide. You've got a lot of, you got Tank Bigsby, who's just a tank. It literally is. He's a power back with speed. You've got Sean Shivers, who unfortunately was not able to play today. with a kind of a versatile Powerball type of pack. I say Powerball because he's literally like a little ball of power. You've got, I'm trying to spit off the top of my head here. You got Jackson, who's a power back. You've got Jarquez Hunter, who's kind of a speed kind of, but not necessarily such a speed back that's all he does, because he's obviously got a little bit of power to him. He's like if Tank Bigsby was trimmed up a little bit more, like a little bit less weight, had a little bit less weight to him, and had a little bit more speed on him. That's kind of how I view him. And then Ingram as well seems to be pretty serviceable back as well. So running backs looking pretty good right now. Looking pretty good. John Stokes in the house. Good to see you. Thanks for being a channel member, sir. As always, want to give you guys shouts out, and a Booster Club member. We're going to be posting some more things in the Boosters Club coming up here very soon for you all too. It's been a very, very crazy week. Part of the reason I'm not here, a little bit of upfront too, why I'm not at a home game. Schedule stuff just got in the way when I wasn't able to do it. But we're kind of doing what we would anticipate potentially doing for away games that I don't get to travel to, and I don't get to go to many of them. Have no plans to be at Penn State this week. So you can expect we'll probably do a fan reaction video where you can get in and you can call whenever the headphones on. You can call in. If you would like the call-in number, let me know. We'll post it. But otherwise, we'll just keep going like this. Unbeaten Lake says, I think Cadillac deserves a massive raise for the guys he's recruited and developed. Yeah, I think there's a reason he's the only retained staff from Coach Malzahn, and I think you're seeing the dividends of that. I think also Coach Harsin knew that he needed to have a link from the previous staff to this current one, not necessarily because he wanted to do what they did or anything like that, but for the player stability and things like that. Yeah, so Cadillac, you knew he was a great running back, a great talent. The question was, could that translate to coaching and recruiting? Recruiting, I was pretty sold on was going to be a strong point for him. Just kind of watching the way he interacts with people and has a little bit of charisma about him. So he's not a Travis Williams rah-rah type of guy, but he's definitely connects with the players. And so far, it makes your development of those players look really good when you got a guy like Tank Bigsby, which is like his first big one there. So I'm going to hold judgment on the development side of it just yet, but it looks like it's trending in the right direction. John says better second half. What about the special team play? Really were the stars of the game, honestly, until obviously the offense and the defense really got going. This is kind of what happens. A typical day game for the Auburn Tigers. They just, for some reason, have always been slow going for these noon games. And I get it. I really do. It doesn't feel right. It just feels weird. I don't know why we can't break that trend, but we get off to slow starts in midday games, and it just takes us a while to get going. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. It truly, truly is. But yes, the special teams deserves a lot of props. When I do my top 5 plays video that's coming up very soon, you will see probably a lot of special teams in there, and deservedly so. You know, I got to thinking last week when I was doing the top 5 videos for Akron, would I just be doing a bunch of Tank and Bo highlights from now on? And thankfully, it looks like there's going to be less of the true offense and more defense and more special teams this week. So it shows you that Auburn's not a one-dimensional team, that when one unit's maybe struggling, the other sides will pick it up. Special teams did that in a big way tonight. Russell, just leaving Auburn. Great game. War Eagle, everybody. Hey, headphones are on, my man. If you want to call in, let me know. I'll drop the number. You can tell us your impressions. Would love to hear anybody out there that's got some. Especially those of you that are leaving campus, since I wasn't able to be there today. Student section was great, but needs work with the goal line offense. That was a very odd exchange. Not exchange, but happenstance there, where I guess part of me understands why the team was so excited about to see them bust into the, to the touchdown there. The other part understands Bo Nix trying to get him to quiet down so they could hear his calls at the line. And it was just kind of like bad on both of them, I guess. Because you can't help it as a fan, but at the same time, you would hope that most of the people there kind of understand, hey, shh, quiet down. We're trying to get into the end zone. This is not you trying to keep the others from getting to the end zone. It was really odd. But yes, the enthusiasm and the desire to be at these games and to stay long has been very much an indication from the student sections thus far. So we can overlook this minor mishap and not worry about it too much, because I think, in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't matter. It did make things a little bit frustrating at the time, though, when it did happen. What else stuck out to you? What are your reactions to this game, offense, defense, players wise, good and bad? Because I think there's a little bit of that to discuss this week. One of the things that not necessarily difficult, but that made it kind of one-sided in our conversation last week was the fact that there wasn't so much to critique outside of, a missed extra point or things like that. There weren't a lot of penalties. In fact, I think the stat was Auburn had 3 penalties all game during the Akron game, and had like 6 in the first quarter alone or something like that. So it was just really interesting to see how different this game was, even though the results were basically the same thing. And I would argue that Alabama State, based off of how Akron versus Alabama State performed, was a little bit more competitive in the long run. Rides Live, the running back depth might be the best combo we've ever had. Whoa, sir. Whoa. Let's not get crazy. The greatest depth we ever had was Cadillac Ronnie, Brandon Jacobs, Brandon Johnson, the fullback, and Trey Smith. Did they result in that potential? Not necessarily. But there's been some other great backfields too throughout time. This is pretty stout though, but maybe by the end of it, we're actually, seeing what happens there. The start actually made me nervous. I understand. I really do. I really, really do. It's kind of the way we've been trained to think as Auburn fans. Like, oh boy, here's that midday game and us getting off to a slow start. Oh boy, the offensive line's not blocked. Oh boy. And then, we're just in a constant panic mode about what's actually going to happen in this game. So I understand being a little bit apprehensive the way things started off. I was too. Russell says he was off again, 62-7. So I'm off 7 points this week with 5 off last week. I'm going to try to get this exact once this season. Early prediction, 24-17 Auburn next week. So real quick, I'll give you kind of a brief overlook of what our schedule would be for the week here on YouTube. Most of you know that we've been doing Monday night game reviews, and this is not our game review. This is just initial reactions. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity just to say what you wanted to say, me kind of respond to it. We'll come back on Monday, let everything sit. We'll do a top 5 plays video. We can actually analyze things and then sit down and talk about it a little bit more on Monday night. And then Wednesday, we will sit down for Penn State. Well, we will start making predictions and assumptions and prognostications. But 24-17, I don't think that's the most unfair assessment about what it might be going forward. But whereas you left the Akron game thinking feeling really good about Penn State, I think you leave this game understanding that Auburn still has some issues that it has not completely some demons it has not exercised completely. And it will still take a little bit of time for that to happen. We seem to have a problem covering short passes, but tackling makes up for most of the time. Yes, I will say that our tackling seems to be, for the most part, pretty secure. I think that comes from, well, I guess I was going to say, I think it comes from them trying to just be very secure on the deep pass. But I don't know. Maybe it's just we were playing a little bit aggressive in this game with the linebackers blitzes and stuff. So that does kind of make you susceptible for those kind of short routes over the middle and off to the side a little bit. So that could be what happened. That could what resulted in all that. War Productions, TJ Finley looked all right in a few snaps. I think he looked pretty good. I think the great thing for Coach Harsin, he's still giving him opportunities to show that he's more than just the backup. And when I say that, not that he deserves to start, but like that he's capable enough, should that situation arise, whether that be an injury, lack of production, or things like that, that he can sling it. And granted, he's throwing against a team that and a team in their depth chart at that point that's probably not that good, but it was still a great throw to Malcolm Johnson. So TJ Finley looked pretty good in the short, what I would call quality time that he had outside of kind of just doing mop-up, cleanup work. I like how Harsin actually got mad at Bo. I think you're implying that Gus never got mad at Bo. Maybe you're not, but he did. I think there's just a different type of mad and a different level of mad that happens with certain coaches, and that's definitely Harsin's more of a fiery type of coach. So you're going to see a clear distinction between all of that. So Bo's gotten disciplined before. He's just getting a different type of discipline now. And you're going to see, Coach Harsin is really want to make his statement about how things are going to be done his way. And when they're not rising to the occasion, when the players slip back into some old habits, and I'm not even talking necessarily about Bo, he's going to call them out for it and make an example of them. Stan, what's going on? Hashtag shutout. And you are also a channel member. Thank you, sir, for being part of our channel membership program. Calling in for Sanford, Florida. Good to have Florida represented here tonight. So, we talked about special teams. I think special teams was what I would call the shining light for the entirety of the game. And defense, let me talk about initial grades. I said this wasn't going to be like full-blown analysis of anything, but initial grades, I'd give an A to the special teams. I'd give a B+ to the defense. I know they had their interception, their fumble, but Coach Harsin said it best, I think, coming out of the half, that how important it is to win the turnover battle. And you can look at that a couple different ways. Yes, he's blaming Bo and the offensive line for allowing that fumble earlier on, but he's also saying, my defense has got to, step up too. We can't win. You cannot win the turnover battle without you causing the turnover, because it'd be a tie 0-0, even if you don't give up one and they don't give up one. But he wants to win the turnover battle. So I think from that area, I may bump that up to an A, but a B+ definitely for defense. For offense, I think when it got going, it's definitely an A, but it has to be kind of like a B kind of overall type of situation. The defense it is scary good how talented they are. Someone pointed out earlier that throwing over the middle or those kind of short passes seem to be a little bit of an Achilles heel. Excuse me. I think that we'll have to get that cleaned up very quickly, or else that'll become a problem with teams like Alabama, Georgia that like to do those little dump passes and things like that. But again, I think that's more because we were blitzing so much, just kind of initially reacting to everything from this game. I like how Bo has actually put the ball in the spot as of lately more than often. So that's something that we noticed a lot in my little circle of E2C network people, all the people that do the podcast with me. We were discussing that Bo has really shown these last 2 games an ability to place the ball where it's supposed to be this year. Not always, and no one's perfect. But a lot of people there was an underthrown ball in one that I remember, but that's really the only one that I could think of. Most other people that, like we talked about last week, and I called it the best play of the game, called it his underthrown touchdown pass to Cubby Hudson. That wasn't an underthrown touchdown pass. That was spot on put where it was supposed to be. So I'll say Bo has definitely improved in that area, which is very encouraging to see where he's placing the ball where only his wide receivers can get it, especially along those wheel routes on the sideline. It's very clean, very clean. Stan says he was dying in the first half. Actually thought about switching to reruns. Frazier changed my mind and predicted 35 points in the second half. Defense got a bonus score. Yeah. I understand the frustration. I do. I really do. But it worked itself out, didn't it? War Productions. I think you should be concerned for next week, but not so that the fact that it's going to be terrible or anything like that. I mean, I think you need to prepare yourself for the reality. You are walking in to a hostile environment with a good football team in a traditional power location where you don't walk in there and get a win easily. So just prepare yourself for that. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen and that Auburn's not going to shock the world. But it will be an upset if Auburn wins. I promise you that. Speaking of Penn State, Hunter running back looking like Saquon Barkley. I haven't heard that comparison yet, but I guess I kind of see it. It's not a bad one. There was a moment, speaking of players that looked like certain other players, when Demetrius Robinson rounded that corner on that, I guess, reverse, or I don't know what you would call it. I was like, is that Anthony Schwartz? Kind of looked like him a little bit, just a little bit. Shivers did not play today. Had a medical issue, undisclosed, so use your speculation there. I'm not going to really address probably what it is, but unfortunately, he did not play, which I was really excited for him in this game because I thought he would do what Jarquez was doing, take center stage, and just really have a game. Like, just go bonkers. And that little fireball deserved it, so I'm sad he didn't get to play. But Jarquez, what a game. Let's back up here. Looked a little sloppy early, muggy, uncomfortable along with the early in my I think it's a different feel when you come off the high. Game 1, night game, first of the Harsin era, that initial just is just kind of like it takes it out of you, and I think it does it for the players too, and it's a little bit different if you're adjusting to do that in a morning game. So yes, that stuff does play a factor. It shouldn't play too big a factor though. Penn State will be planning snap count strategy. Yes. How many offsides did the defense have? Plenty. Now they were blitzing a lot. And, you could flip this another way. Maybe they were blitzing so much to make them do that because they're not planning on blitzing as much and really staying home to keep them from building up sustainable drives. So it could go either way. Not as sharp this week, but we have a good bit to work on now. Oh, yes. Plenty more. But I do believe it's going to be a good passing game. I believe we'll see Robertson on the jet sweep, 24-14. Oh, yeah. Imani's saying there's going to be a dismantling of Penn State. So I was not shocked about that. Did Tank look a little off? You'd have to clarify a little bit for me, Stan, what you mean by that. Like sick, mad, like just health-wise. I mean, because I guess when I think about it, was it a quiet 100 yards for him today? I think it was 122. Yeah. Was it it was interesting. They used him at first, brought him out, and then put him back in, especially there in the third quarter, which I guess I understand when you give him a few more reps. I think personally, he and the coaching staff had decided they were going to use him only as much as they needed to. And when Sean was out, that kind of forced them to use him more than he was. So I think he had probably mentally, not checked out, but mentally prepared himself to not be so up for this one. And so you kind of, unfortunately, you go through the motions at that point. So maybe that's what could have happened there. We're getting reactions. I figured that was what was happening, and a lot of you are starting to check in now. I figured most of you might want to be watching that. Who plays a game like that at 11 o'clock? Ohio State versus Oregon is what they're talking about. Why is that game not prime time on one of the slowest weeks in college football that there will be? Week 2 is notorious. There's when Iowa and Iowa. Look, I'm looking forward to that matchup. I think it starts soon, but it is not better than Ohio State, Oregon. Why is that being played at this time frame? But anyway, apparently Ohio State lost. Fortunately, I do not have a coworker anymore who is an Ohio State fan, and so I can go not rub it. I don't like to rub it in their face, but I just like to walk up to them. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Fast pace versus Penn State. Yeah, that probably would work a little bit. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It really is. And how much that atmosphere is going to play into it is going to be really, if Bo's been going through a series of tests in the first 2 to 3 games, he's going to have to overcome the monkey of not performing well on the road. And that's going to be a big one and a big ask in Happy Valley. Oh, you thought he got stopped for a yard or two a few too many times. I thought he might not have been feeling well. Maybe. I mean, we won't know. He obviously was playing well enough to play, even bring him back in the third quarter. Offensive line did not play as well. I won't say bad. Were there times they played bad? No, they played how they typically do, so that wouldn't be bad. I hope you all heard me say how much I heavily praised their play in the last game because of how you did not notice them. I should not be noticing the offensive line. And I noticed them this game. That is why Tank Bigsby seemed a little off because he had no protection for a certain point. Tank looked fine to Russell. O-line wasn't as dominant. Yep, that giving that up a little bit of a troublesome area. You want to see TJ in the red zone? If the situation is right, yes, but I don't want to blanket TJ red zone package. First and goal, 3 yards to go. Sure. First and 10 from the 25, where you can still get a first down. That's still Bo's area, and Bo has shown that he can throw a nice ball. That from that trajectory. A little quick question I'll take here. Mine's all over the place, admittedly, but thoughts on UCF going to Big 12? I'm not skipping it for you. See, this is what happens when you're a channel member. Is we tend to address all your questions if we can. UCF to Big 12. Does it geographically make sense? No. The way things are going in college football, does it make sense? Probably still no, but because of that, yes, I guess. Listen, the Big 12 has been dying off for a long time, and not to say that UCF joining that makes it a worse program. I mean, when you exchange Texas and Oklahoma for UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston, I mean, I guess all 3 of them combined almost make up for Texas, but you're losing Oklahoma, which is a perennial power. So UCF, congratulations to them and Coach Malzahn for being eventually back in a Power 5 conference, if they'll still be that. I think we're not done with the purging of the Big 12 and the purging of conferences overall, at least in what we know them now as. Our O-line got their first taste of a 300-pound. The guy was big, wasn't he? Defensive lineman today, and that's a good thing, right? They kind of had their way against Akron in their defensive line to have to push somebody around, and I kind of anticipated that. For some reason, I grew up in Montgomery, and I just always feel like Alabama State had these big old honking defensive linemen. Maybe not like the super talented anymore, but they just are tough to move because they're big. And that seems to be the case still. So, yeah. Alabama State just put some resistance, which I like. Which is, yeah, look, this is a good thing. I think a lot of people that were panicking early, I think most of us realized, hey, this is probably going to be, we're not in trouble. But with this team, this is a good thing. Face a little resistance. How do we respond to it? It's good to have that happen before you go on the road. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Do you think Auburn's going to go up after this game in the polls? I said last week that Auburn moving up in the polls this week is not dependent upon what they do. It's dependent upon what others do. So that is my answer to that. If I still don't think they did enough in this game. I know it was 62-0, but it's Alabama State. I still don't think they did enough on their own for someone to say, oh, definitely Auburn jumps this person that was neutral or that was not playing this week or also won a rinky-dink game. It's going to take somebody else losing below them for them to move up in the polls. But the fact that we're already ranked in one poll, it's a great thing, right? We should be happy with that. And I hope you are. Alabama just started. Yeah. I will not be watching that game. All right. I'm not saying we're going to wrap. We might be done here in a second, but go ahead and get last minute comments, questions, reactions. Again, this is not going to be your only time to talk about this game and the stuff from it. Got a lot of stuff coming out this week that we've already addressed. But before we do get out of here, I want to remind you of a couple things. Check out the links in the description. Also, one of the links in the top of the chat window, you can become a channel member. A lot of you have. Thank you guys so much. We've had a lot of people pop in here like John Stokes and Stan, and I feel like a couple others that I'm missing have been there as well. Thank you guys so much. And those of you that are Booster Club members, if you want to check out the links for that in the description for all that information, ways that you can help support the content that we do here. And we enjoy giving you this type of content. We enjoy having you here. And if you do enjoy this type of stuff, please do make sure you smash that like button. Excuse me. Harsin and the team leaders got it done during halftime. Yeah, and then it was kind of frustrating to watch that great call by Alabama State, wasn't it? With their onside kick. It was like, well played. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap to a team and a coach and just say, look, you did what you had to. Well played, sir. Well played. And that still didn't seem to mess them up too bad. Arizona State plays UNLV, so you probably won't be hopping to the coaches poll. Yeah, like I said, I could be wrong. This is the way, and I think you guys, most of you that have been here for a while, understand this about me now. I tend to be a little bit more cautiously optimistic than out there optimistic like I used to be, so that I don't get burned. So that's why I'm preparing myself for them not to jump up. So when they do, I'm happy. That kick was not the highlight of the afternoon. Oh, that's what I meant to grab here. Mercer putting up resistance. Here's the thing. Teams like that always put up a small amount of resistance to Alabama, like in the first drive or two, and then it's just over with. Is LSU struggling again? Oh, poor LSU. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know there's a lot going on this Saturday, and we'll probably do something like this again for Penn State, even as late as that'll be. And we'll just talk about fan reactions and stuff like that. Be looking out for the top 5 plays video that's coming out. Hope as soon as I can get it out in the next couple of days. Live stream on Monday, 8 o'clock. Live stream on Wednesday at 8 o'clock as well, where first one will break down this game, stats and all. Then we'll preview on Wednesday. And just stay tuned throughout the rest of the week for all the good stuff. Thank you, guys. Till I talk to you again. War Eagle.